offensive rebound here. Finally goes slithering. Oh my goodness, Towns! Karl Anthony Towns!
Just want to do some takeaways after that crazy Game 7 between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. Going to do a quick little summary just off the top of my head, and also what this looks like for the Nuggets, and pretty much just kind of where I see things for the Nuggets after going out the way they did. I just want to say that this was a ridiculously unpredictable series, just from start to finish. You get the Timberwolves taking the first 2 games on the road. You think, you know, the series probably a wrap. That's what it sounded like, certainly around. And then the Nuggets take the next 2 on the road. And all of a sudden, it's back to Nuggets are on top. They're going to take this series. Rudy Gobert's this, Rudy Gobert's that. Then the Denver Nuggets win that 3rd game in a row. And more Rudy Gobert talk, more hate. And then the Timberwolves blow out the Nuggets. They then get this Game 7. And I'm still confident the Nuggets are going to win this game at home. They go up 20. The Timberwolves come back in amazing fashion. The Nuggets just kind of collapse around Murray and Jokic. Basically, nobody really giving much outside of those 2 guys. And then the series is a wrap. All the Gobert slander goes away. And now we're talking about Minnesota versus the Mavs. And the funny thing is, the Gobert slander is only gone until the Minnesota Timberwolves lose another game. And then that's when the talk is going to continue about they got to go small, they can't play Gobert. I can't wait for that kind of conversation, and it is what it is on that front. I'm going to move on from that. But I just want to say congrats to the T-Wolves for coming to Denver, winning that Game 7, beating the defending champs, basically against the odds after, you know, really looking like it was over for them. Huge run for this team that just makes a trade for Gobert. I keep going to the Gobert thing, but they made the trade for Gobert. I knock it completely. I never liked it, and I'm eating my words. This team is amazing. They have everything they need to win a championship, and a lot of people are going to feel more comfortable, especially after they beat the defending champs, to pick the Timberwolves to win it all, and I don't think they'd be wrong to do that because I'm kind of on that boat. So I also want to say that this is exactly why winning back-to-back championships, especially these days where there's a lot of parity in the league now, is just so difficult to get done. You have a target on your back all regular season long. You're the measuring stick for every single team on the schedule. And you're also the team to beat in your conference. There's a seriousness that opposing teams come at you with when they know that you won the title. And that does take a toll on a team, and it's why it's so hard to win again. Now, the Nuggets' problems in this series, and all year long really, highlighted itself in Game 7. This was basically the talk about the Nuggets all year long, was their bench. What are they going to get from their bench? Do they have enough depth to get it done? I was of the belief that if you can get 2 guys to consistently contribute, it was going to be enough. And honestly, if Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr., just one of those 2 guys shows up, they likely win this game and they move on. I am surprised at Aaron Gordon disappearing, and also just how much of a struggle it was for Michael Porter Jr. in this series. After that Lakers series where he quite literally kept them in some of those games that they could have easily lost, he was putting out fires all series long, hitting timely shots, grabbing some big rebounds, doing things on the defensive end too, and then he just, you know, disappears in this series. And I'm not going to knock him too much because of all the family problems that happened all at once. It was really crazy how all of that stuff happens almost at the same time. And I'm sure that had a big effect on him mentally. But just keeping it basketball-wise, it really felt like he was just not locked in. Like, he was forcing shots. He was taking a lot of bad shots in this series, especially in Game 7. Some of the shots he was taking also normally fall for him, but sometimes those are really tough shots that he just likes making. He's very comfortable taking shots like those. But when they don't go in, and then he's having some defensive breakdowns at the same time, Michael Malone feels the need to pull him out. And then when you pull out Michael Porter Jr., you kind of knock his confidence, right? You kind of take it away from him a little bit. And then you hope that whoever comes off the bench, whether it's Reggie Jackson, whether it's Christian Brown, that they're going to come and contribute. And that's the part that is concerning if you're a Nuggets fan, because Christian Brown is a very good young player. I think he showed up. I think he did as much as he could off the bench for as little experience as he has in the NBA as it is. And the problem with Reggie Jackson is you never know what version of Reggie Jackson you're going to get. Like, he's either going to be the awesome Reggie Jackson off the bench, making big shots, making some good passes, doing some things on the defensive end, or you're going to get the what are you doing Reggie Jackson, where he's throwing some really risky passes, he's taking risks on defense, he's a heat-checky guy at times, and then it just looks really bad when the shots aren't falling. You just never know the version of Reggie Jackson you're going to get, and I think that's very concerning when you're looking down the bench. You know, you pull Michael Porter Jr. or you pull Aaron Gordon, and then off the bench is like a Justin Holiday, which, no knock on Justin Holiday, he's been solid all year. He's been a reliable guy off the bench, but when you're looking down at the bench and you're seeing names like Zeke Naji and old DeAndre Jordan and Peyton Watson, who loses playing time because he just can't put the ball in the basket, still young also, not going to knock him completely. But, you know, you're looking at the bench and you see these names and you're like, where are we getting help from? You know, because Jokic is pretty damn, I mean, he is as consistent as it gets. Never felt like he was really all that comfortable in this series, but even so, the numbers are still really good. The efficiency takes a knock in a couple of games, but he was as good as he could be in a series against such a tough team like the T-Wolves. And then you get Jamal Murray, similar to Reggie Jackson in the sense of, like, he's going to give you an amazing game, and then he's going to give you a really bad game. Or in the middle of the game, he's going to start off extremely hot like he did in Game 7, and then he just kind of disappears, right? I know he's battling the injuries, so that plays a factor, but he is one of those players that you also don't know how long the hot streak is going to last, how long the cold streak is going to last, what version of him you're going to get game to game. You know, he's a great player. I think he's really underrated. He's huge for the wins that the Nuggets get. He's just huge for this team. Obviously, he's the second best player on this team, but it's that 50-50 factor with Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr. also has a 50-50 factor. And I think that when you have streakiness like that, I haven't even gotten to KCP. You know, a guy that guards multiple positions, he can shoot threes, he has a lot of chemistry with his team. Obviously, he's a champion, a lot of intangibles with him, and you know it works because they won with him. They won with all these guys. But when you think about KCP, likes to take some tough shots, does some questionable things sometimes, and when the shot's not falling and he's also getting cooked on defense, it becomes just a struggle to get anything going outside of Jokic and outside of Murray. And, you know, there's going to be a question in the offseason now. They basically have no cap room to really do much. They're going to have to get creative, or they're going to have to hope that the guys they have on their bench develop. A guy like Peyton Watson or Julian Strawther or maybe Hunter Tyson. I had a video when the season started on these guys thinking that, you know, they were going to move the needle for them off the bench, but wasn't really the case this season. Hopefully they develop into something. The Nuggets are going to need that, because if KCP doesn't pick up the player option, they're going to be in trouble, because if they can't offer what another team is going to offer KCP, then he walks, and the only positive to KCP walking is the cap relief. But then it's like, I'm looking at free agency and I'm thinking, who is out there that the Nuggets can really afford that can do the things KCP does at the same time, and a guy that's just going to fit with this team, right? It's not hard to fit with this team because of how well coached they are, because of Jokic, because of Murray. They know what they need to do to win games. And so it's not going to take like crazy game-changing talent to help this team. But I do think that if KCP walks, I don't know how they replace KCP, even though he makes you pull your hair out sometimes with the shots he takes and some of the decision he makes. But I do think they need to get him back, right? Like if he picks up that player option, I think that's actually good for them. Reggie Jackson, he also has a player option. Everyone else is coming back. But if Reggie Jackson doesn't pick it up, is it the end of the world for them? I would say no, because it's a little bit of cap relief. And I think that you can replace Reggie Jackson sooner than you can replace a KCP. Now, I don't want to talk about trade stuff, because then it's like, I already hear it out there right now. Like, people are saying trade Aaron Gordon or trade Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. has entered like this Tobias Harris situation where it's a guy that gets a lot of money and then didn't show up when it mattered most. He's that wing player, has good size, does multiple things. It's weird to see him in this conversation, but I refuse to put him in the same light as Tobias Harris. I'm just saying that that's what it sounds like to me when I'm hearing people talk about the situation. And I wouldn't want the Nuggets to trade Aaron Gordon either, because it's like, this is a perfect tandem with Aaron Gordon and Jokic. Is Aaron Gordon the spacey guy that's going to shoot threes? No, but it's proven that it works. Him in the dunker spot, him attracting attention, grabbing boards, putting pressure on the rim, outside, when Jokic draws attention, he's got that lob threat. Also, Aaron Gordon gives them the athleticism that they don't really have an abundance of on this team. Like, this isn't the most athletic team either, and Aaron Gordon brings that to them as well as Michael Porter Jr. does. Peyton Watson brings athleticism too, but I think that it's a mistake to trade Aaron Gordon. I don't think that's the solution. I think you get worse if you do that. I don't think they should trade Michael Porter Jr. I would say, like, if anyone is potentially to be moved, and this is going to sound weird because I made a video on Michael Porter Jr. and how important he is to this team. Like, when he's on, this team is really hard to beat. But I would think, like, I would rather keep Aaron Gordon than Michael Porter Jr. I just feel like he adds more, I guess, consistency to this team. Like, what he does in his role as the Swiss Army knife kind of guy, cleaning up the dirty work and doing all the other stuff, I think that is much harder to find with the size Aaron Gordon has. And you could say the same thing about Michael Porter Jr., but I do feel like he does have a lot of value because of the things he's proven that he can do. And maybe not if you consider the injury stuff, but I don't know. I think they're just better off keeping these guys together. Like, big picture, they were tied for the 1 seed. They were 1 game away from a conference finals, and guys just didn't show up when it mattered most. It's very easy to kind of think, oh man, this team doesn't have it anymore, they need to make some moves. But in reality, I just think if the bench is just a pinch better, we're talking about something different here. Just a no-show from the supporting cast, no show from Aaron Gordon in Game 7, no show from Michael Porter Jr. throughout the series. I think if, like I said in the beginning, if one of those two guys shows up, we're talking about a totally different scenario. I don't think we're talking about trades or offseason moves, and I think we would be talking about a Nuggets-Mavs matchup. Shout out to the Timberwolves. What do I think about Mavs Timberwolves? Really quick before I end this video, I will say this because I don't have any real predictions at the moment. I would say, though, unlike OKC, Minnesota has a lot of on-ball defenders with size, right? They don't lack size at all, and that's going to matter when you're guarding pick and rolls. They're not going to have to cheat over to help each other collapse on hard dives to the basket from Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford or even PJ Washington. Like, these guys can really hold their own on pick and roll defense. They're going to challenge you on the boards. They're going to also put points on the board on the other end. Like, this team is deep. They have the athleticism. They have the mental toughness. And they really think they can win a championship. You know, I'm not going to say OKC didn't believe in themselves, but obviously we saw the problems they had just with the size. They couldn't deal with covering for those pick and roll dives and also getting out to those shooters. And I don't think that's going to be a problem for Minnesota. Do I think the Timberwolves are going to win this series? If I had to pick right now, I would say yes. They have home court advantage. I think that matters, even though it hasn't mattered much in this postseason in general, like across the board. But I do think that's going to play a big factor, obviously, in picking a team. And I just want to see how the Mavs deal with that suffocating defense that's not going to stop coming at them. And also, you know, they spread you out as well. They just have a lot of depth, right? Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Naz Reid, talked about those guys a million times. And this is going to be an awesome series. I think the Timberwolves are going to win. They're most likely just going to see the Celtics. If the Celtics are going to play without KP in that finals or a beat-up KP, I don't see how they win this championship.